Oh, buddy. On the screen right now is just a miner mining Darrow, sort of. The pool that it's connected to doesn't really work fully, but we're building our own node, so we'll be talking about that later this week. The node is syncing still. All right, camera's working. Good morning and welcome everybody to the Crypto Mining Show, your one-stop shop for all cryptocurrency news from the perspective of a cryptocurrency miner. On the interwebs, I go by Blind Run, and in real life, I go by Matthew. Today, we're going to be talking about NVIDIA Ada Lovelace GPUs have a node advantage over AMD RDNA 3, rumored to utilize 4 nanometer. We're going to be talking about the world's first regulated crypto bank braces for a flood of institutional money. Elon Musk buying Twitter, which primarily is interesting because we were looking to go into the dirt yesterday as far as cryptocurrency pricing, and then it recovered with that news. We also have Bitcoin miner CLEANSPARK raises $35 million in equipment-backed debt from Trinity Capital. And then we'll talk about, of course, the mining profitability for the day, which is quite a bit better today than usual. So that's good to see. And I hope everybody's having a good day today. Let's get into it right after a word from today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is myself. To support the channel, click the join button below the video and you will get access to our privately hosted Rocket Chat. Selecting the $1.99 option will get you access, and after that you need to head over to the membership tab, scroll down, and expand out your membership perks. Find the section for connecting on social media, and in that section there will be a secret registration URL to join Rocket Chat, where you can sign up to enjoy talking with other cryptocurrency enthusiasts and miners without spammers, scammers, or bots. Boom! Sponsor yours truly. So today we're going to talk first about NVIDIA Lovelace GPUs have a node advantage over AMD RDNA 3, rumored to utilize TSMC 4 nanometer process. This was basically written yesterday. It's on WCCF Tech. NVIDIA's Lovelace GPUs for next-gen RTX 40 gaming graphics cards will have a node advantage over RDNA 3 from AMD, as reported by Moore's Law is dead. From what we know so far, NVIDIA was expected to utilize TSMC's 5 nanometer process node for their Ada Lovelace GPUs that power the next generation gaming graphics cards, aka the RTX 40 series. It looks like the specific node has been revealed by Moore's Law is dead in a recent tweet. As per the latest rumor, the NVIDIA Ada Lovelace GPUs will be based on the TSMC 4 nanometer process. And he says, notice I didn't mention PCIe 5.0 in my Lovelace slides. Speaking of the number 4, though, NVIDIA Lovelace is indeed 4 nanometer. This is per that tweet. And then, of course, I think it was in reply to Copite on the PCIe Gen 4 thing. But Yep, that's the same TSMC 4nm process node that powers the Hopper GPUs for the data center HPC market. As for what we know about the TSMC 4nm process node, is a revision of their 5nm process, not to be confused with 4nm N4, which is a completely different node. The TSMC 4nm process node is custom designed exclusively for NVIDIA and hosts a range of optimizations that allow for better power efficiency, performance, and minor boosts to density versus the vanilla TSMC 5nm node. The reasons why NVIDIA may have selected TSMC's 4nm as a candidate for its next-gen gaming GPU lineup are kind of obvious. The upcoming cards will be real power hungry, and NVIDIA and the company is going to optimize them as much as they can by utilizing the 4nm process node. AMD, on the other hand, will be utilizing a mix of TSMC 5nm and 6nm process nodes for its upcoming MCM and monolithic GPUs based on RDNA 3 graphics architecture. And while they don't bring the optimizations that 4nm does, they will feature an MCM approach that is expected to be highly efficient. MCM, for the uninitiated, is going to be a multi-chip module design. Think chiplets from, of course, the Ryzen CPUs, just in video card form. And I think it's very important to note that 4nm, while of course advancing the technology by decreasing the die size, that is relevant. I think it's really important to note that going to this kind of MCM approach from Radeon could actually end up garnering more performance at the end of the day. So at the end of the day, NVIDIA gets the better node while AMD delivers a better design approach. At the end of the day, these won't I say at the end of the day, I swear I hadn't read this article yet. And then they say at the end of the day twice in a row. So we said at the end of the day, we have new GPUs coming out, right? These won't matter much to end users who only want to play their games on the best possible hardware they could get their hands on. No, it will matter a lot, because depending on which one ends up performing better, we'll know whether multi-chip module design was the way to go, or whether going and decreasing the process node was the way to go. I have a feeling that AMD and Radeon will be in a position where pushing it for the multi-chip module design will put them ahead in future generations. Maybe not necessarily for the RX 7000 series, but I think that going that design approach will give them more to work with in the future. That's what I think, at least. Let me know what you guys think as well. So they do have, of course, all three of the latest TIs basically kind of here. You got, your 12nm process on the 2080 Ti, 8nm on the Samsung, and then 4nm TSMC on the 4090. We've already kind of talked about their memory bandwidth. We are supposed to be getting 24 gigabit per second GDDR6X, which should get us a higher memory bandwidth up to 1152 gigabytes a second. Another important note here is they're reducing basically the power requirements for the memory side of things on Ada Lovelace, and I think that will be important as well. But unfortunately, because of the high power consumption and the new power design requirements in ATX 3.0, we're still not sure if this is really going to look good in a mining rig necessarily. We'll just have to wait and see. Next, we have the world's first regulated crypto bank, and they say that they are bracing for institutional money. This came out on April 21st. It says, less than half an hour's train ride from Zurich in the center of the picturesque town of Zug. I feel like I don't even know how you would pronounce this, but there's a centuries-old building with a frescoed facade. Golly. All right, Forbes. Usually, I'm going to look stupid today. They're going with all the stuff I can't pronounce. It's fine. ancient timber ceilings, and pastel window shutters. Oh, thanks for setting the setting there, all right? This former town hall would make a welcome stop for any tour group exploring Switzerland's rich architectural heritage. Yet everyone walking in and out of its imposing entrance is wearing formal attire. A futuristic logo sits atop the door. It reads Seba Bank. And a solitary symbol, the Bitcoin symbol, peers through the window to Zug's cobbled pavings. You might think that a steel and glass skyscraper would be a more fitting choice for the headquarters of Switzerland's first regulated crypto bank, but Seba's founder chose these premises for a reason. It was here in 2016 that Zug's local government became the first municipality in the world to accept taxes in Bitcoin. And the new tenants are no less determined to bridge the traditional economy with the new digital one. Pavi Rekkanen, something like that, Seba's chairwoman, is the kind of fintech leader that non-Nigerian investors. Look, I'm a computer guy, and my dyslexia, I just wanted to say something cool like nanites, or I don't know, something like that. Like Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger simply won't acknowledge the existence of. Steeped in banking experience, fiendishly clever, and convinced beyond any doubt that Bitcoin and blockchain technology are reshaping the global financial system. Quote, "We are still, in my view, in the early days of this new industry, this digital asset universe," end quote. Rekkanen, who's held senior positions at Rolodex of technology and financial giants Nokia, Cisco, Credit Suisse and UBS, tells me in an interview in Seba's plush office. The institutional money and also the professional investors, they have woken up to the reality that market values have skyrocketed in DeFi, which stands for decentralized finance, and in NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and in cryptocurrencies. The data is beginning to show that this is happening. This is absolutely happening. And if you look at the size of institutional money bucket, we are just at the beginning. I think we are at the beginning of an entire industry. SEBA was founded in 2018 by Guido Buhler, Sebastian Marilot, and Guido Rudolfi, something like that. In 2019, it received a banking and securities dealer license from FINMA, the Swiss Financial Market Supervisory Authority, becoming the joint first regulated bank anywhere in the world to specialize solely in digital assets. The other licensee was Zurich-based Signum. More regulatory approvals have flowed in, including the right to provide institutional-grade digital asset custody to collective investment schemes, another first. German-speaking Zug was a natural choice for a base of operations, not just because of the local government's enthusiasm for Bitcoin, but also the growing number of blockchain companies that had set up shop in the small town. Widely dubbed the Crypto Valley of Switzerland, although other municipalities such as Italian-speaking Lugano and French-speaking Neuchâtel, something like that, are now giving it a run for its money. I just feel like we are not clicking on all cylinders today, guys. I apologize. The Ethereum Foundation, a non-profit organization that promotes the world's second largest cryptocurrency, was established in Zug in 2014. Today, about half of Switzerland's 1,000 or so crypto startups call the town home. Quote, "It was important for us to be in a location where we have access to talent," end quote, Rekkanen said. Quote, "You want to be somewhere the employees also want to be, somewhere with like-minded companies, institutions, associations, so that you can learn and grow. I think SEBA chose the right place to be," end quote. She adds, however, that for any new technology, quote, "when innovations are born, there's often also resistance," end quote. Cryptocurrencies in general, and Bitcoin in particular, continue to be perceived wrongly as Ponzi schemes and tools for money laundering by a sizable chunk of the global population. Many governments and regulators, albeit not Switzerland's, eye the sector with deep suspicion, fearing its potential to disrupt financial markets and intentionally laying down hurdles for investors. I've been talking a lot about The Sovereign Individual a lot, which is a book that I've been listening to and paying attention to quite closely because it does seem to be kind of talking about all this. It's essentially about the transformation into the digital age from basically, I guess, postmodernism or modernism at this point, from the industrial age, and how time will move quickly. And some of the things that they point out is like one of the things would be that you would have essentially kind of the breaking down of borders. You would have the removal of giant nation states because they'll no longer be needed. They'll also have a harder time collecting taxes. And eventually, after a bunch of distress and so on, it'll end up being that, the people will govern themselves in much smaller groups, kind of adhering to whatever those are. And one of the things that they talk about that I thought was interesting too, and it kind of alludes to what's going on with Elon Musk and Twitter, is they said that like individuals will be able to financially influence the world in general, and this move and this transformation through the digital age and fully into the digital age, because nation states won't be able to control them. You'll end up having basically individuals that make large purchases that are super influential. And it's kind of funny that a lot of that stuff that they talk about in the book is coming to fruition. And when we talk about like, obviously the deep suspicion and the disruption of financial markets, we're also talking about the disruption of, large nation states. And when I think about that from that perspective, I go, wow, well, this book written in the 90s sure is like calling a lot of this stuff out. Why would there be deep suspicion and fear of this? Well, anytime there's a large change, there is fear surrounding it. One of the examples they used recently that I thought was super interesting was the Roman Empire and kind of the breakdown of the nation state of that, and basically how it setting it up, right? With the fall of Rome, you had basically a bunch of farmers. Agriculture was fantastic, that sort of thing, very profitable for a while. And then the state was kind of getting to a point to where it was, needing to feed itself off the backs of all the workers that were surrounding it, the farmers and so on. And they were taking, 30 to 40% of the crop yields as taxes. And it was basically making it to where the farmers weren't able to function anymore, to the point to where the farmers were just ditching their land and leaving it. What it ended up leading to, of course, was the Dark Ages. And what was interesting that I didn't know about the Dark Ages, and maybe they have it wrong too, but one of the things that they had stated in the book was essentially that while the Dark Ages, we had a time of like a lot of regression intellectually and so on, what it did do was empower the individuals. The farmers were able to go work that land because they knew how to work it, and kind of the money flowed back down to the bottom. And this is apparently something that happens in all transformations from different ages. So there is like positive light at the end of the tunnel, I suppose is what I'm trying to say, if you make those correlations. But so Reckonen says you need to start thinking about how do you build trust with communities that you're serving, with the clients that you want to attract. The answer, according to Swiss politicians anyhow, is regulation. The country's federal council is its highest executive body, enacted 10 legislative amendments last year, updating the law to spell out how crypto assets should be handled by regulated entities when it comes to custodying, securitizing, complying with anti-money laundering rules, and more. Combined with the steady stream of licenses being issued by FINMA, this blanket ordinance gives legal certainty to the new class of institutional investors gingerly dipping their toes in the market. It means there is less time required to explain how we are doing this because they know that we are regulated in the same way. They know we all have the same AML, KYC requirements, Reckoning says, so it kind of shortens the discussion, and at the same time, it helps us demystify the topic because we don't have to spend much time on the trust aspect, end quote. So big institutional investors are looking for things like this KYC and so on. KYC, know your customer, which means basically exchanges, banks that participate within cryptocurrency, etc., is going to gather user data for tax purposes and that sort of thing. It'll usually be sold to you under some sort of thing of preventing money laundering and crime and so on, and for your safety in case you need to get your money back or that sort of thing. Remember, the initial reason for Bitcoin was to remove the need for banks and governments. So it's kind of funny to see this. And I think that, once again, if we go back to the sovereign individual, it does talk about this kind of thing where they're going to take this new technology and try to fit it into industrialism. They're going to try to fit it in. They're going to try to force it in. And no matter how hard they try, at the end of the day, it's not going to work. So we're going to see a lot of this stuff. What happens when all the institutional money starts dumping into it? Well, of course, it pumps the price up, and then the individuals kind of get a benefit out of there. This goes back to the idea of Bitcoin as a Trojan horse. And so what do I mean by the Trojan horse? Obviously, you would be familiar with the Trojan horse. It's a way to, take down a city with large walls by hiding people inside and presenting it as a gift. Bitcoin is the Trojan horse to the institutions. You're going in here, they're saying, oh, there's a ton of money in here. As soon as they start dumping money into it, they're automatically giving power back to the individual. This is the path that is going to be taken. And it's going to be a very, very bumpy road. And I think things are going to get a lot worse before they get a lot better. But this is the road that we're on. SEBA, like any financial services provider, doesn't publicize details about its clients. Reckoning will only say that most of them can be classified as, quote, early adopters in the space. They include crypto companies that need corporate accounts to bridge their fiat and digital holdings, miners, founders, and early team members of successful crypto projects, and high net worth individuals with a background in professional investing. But the bank's biggest clients in terms of assets held anyway are already financial institutions. Who is institutional money? It could be a big bank, and the money behind it is their clients. Those clients are beginning to ask, is this an asset class you participate in? You recognize, you advise on. If the answer is no, 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 then they'll say, well, where can I go? Quote, so the institutions are beginning to get that pushback. Once again, why are they getting the pushback? They're getting the pushback because their clients, the people, are interested in this new asset class. They will be forced into it whether or not they like it. On the face of it, they don't like it. But because of the way the markets will dictate, they have no choice but to participate within it. It's fascinating, guys. We're watching history being written right now. It's incredible. If you're a big institution or even small institution, you have to ask yourself the question, am I going to invest in the infrastructure myself? Am I going to build my own custody solution and interact with all the crypto layers and protocols and processes that come with it on top of my own infrastructure? Or am I going to look for a partner? The best antidote for anxiety about the crypto sphere, Reckoning strongly implies without saying it, is having a reputable partner to hold your hand. And if you're going to do that, then a Swiss banking license is seen as a, quote, rare stamp of approval, end quote. SEBA has a broad spectrum of products tailored to the needs of its individual and corporate clients. On the simpler end, its trading platform allows users to hold and hedge 14 cryptocurrencies, of which you have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Polkadot, Litecoin, XTZ, I don't remember what that one is, Cardano, XLM, USDC, BCH, SNX, UNI, Uniswap, basically, YFI, and Link, Chainlink, and Aave. In addition to 8 fiat balances and the SEBA Golden Token, or Gold Token, a digital token backed by physical Swiss gold. It also offers diversified index trackers such as SIBA-X, Exchange Traded Product, ETP. The bank's research department continually assesses tokens for inclusion in its flagship index, which comprises a basket of 7 cryptocurrencies weighted heavily in favor of Bitcoin, 40%, and Ethereum at 21%. Holdings are rebalanced on a monthly basis according to a rule-based smart beta methodology. Clients can also compile their own basket of crypto assets using discretionary mandates and actively managed certificates, AMCs. The latter available in white label wrappers, allowing B2B clients to develop a bespoke, regulated crypto investment product for end customers without jumping through all the hoops needed to bring it to market. In an era of historically low, and in Switzerland, negative interest rates, the ability to generate a yield by holding cryptocurrencies is particularly alluring. The bank caters for this segment with its SIBA Earn platform, which allows clients to stake 3 proof-of-stake coins, Polkadot, Tezos, okay, that's the one it was, and Cardano, and will soon enable lending of proof-of-work Bitcoin and Ethereum. Staking is a process whereby coins are locked up on a blockchain, albeit without leaving their digital wallets, in order to facilitate the running of the network. Institutional investors are interested in a couple things. What are they? They're a managerial class. Managerial class means that typically they manage things without the actual physical skills needed to perform any sort of valued work or contribution to society. Their contribution to society is telling everybody else what to do. And so what do they like to do? Why is proof of stake so appealing to them? Well, proof of stake is so appealing to them because all it requires is an investment. It requires taking something that they are traditionally comfortable with taking control of through the means of some sort of currency, in this case fiat, and dumping it into basically a coin that they can do nothing with but just give people the money to go ahead and earn extra money on it. This is a preferred method for managerial classes and something that you will see leaned on very heavily by banks, nation states, and traditional institutions, because these are the ones that allow them to maintain control over the global macroeconomics. And that is basically how that's going to play out. That's why proof of stake is going to be pushed by a majority of anybody that is participating within institutions like this. These services only scratch the surface of what's possible in the DeFi realm, but as Reckonen explains, the bank is treading carefully when it comes to protocols and smart contracts that push Switzerland's regulators to the limits of their oversight capabilities. Quote, DeFi in a regulated environment is still quite new, and we have very clearly taken the position that we're going to be in the permissioned DeFi space, end quote, she says, referring to protocols such as Aave Arc, which use Know Your Business, KYB checks, to ensure that all the participants of a liquidity pool are identified and approved. Quote, we actually have some really interesting DeFi projects coming up, but I cannot yet talk about them. Again, we see the demand from institutions. They're saying, look, I want to understand this, I want to be in this, but going for an open DeFi protocol is just a no for a big institution. Of course it is. Of course it's a no. In February, SIBA opened its first overseas office in the Gulf Emirate of Abu Dhabi, another crypto-friendly regulatory environment. The bank has also appointed a chief executive for Asia based in Hong Kong and now has clients in 24 countries spread across 5 continents. As you would expect for a Swiss financier, Reckonen is treating international expansion as a top priority. Quote, we started here in Zug and it'll be the place to be, end quote, she says. But we also need to grow outside. We never envisioned that we would be just a local player. From the beginning, we really believed in this being a global industry. That's the philosophy of Bitcoin and blockchain. No. I mean, obviously it'll be global. Yes, that's correct. But no. Not in this way. Growth of the roughly 100-strong workforce could take many forms. SIBA doesn't rule out acquisitions, and it has the cash to make them, thanks to a 110 million Swiss franc, 116 million US dollars fundraising in January. But for an industry as dynamic as cryptocurrency, Reckoning is quite rightly focused on the near term. Quote, "We are a fast-growing startup, but we're still a startup," end quote, she concludes. Quote, "So we have to make choices and we have to be clear on our focus areas and our strategy. Where SIBA and the entire industry is in 10 years' time, I don't even dare to comment on that. I think for now we have our focus. What's really important for an organization like ours is that when we build our capabilities, we build them with the mindset of scale and the mindset of replicable models," end quote. All right, so there you go. What do we got? Big institutional money coming into the market because of the demand of their customers. This is going to continue to happen pretty much everywhere because people do not like missing out on big opportunities like this. This is not too dissimilar, of course, from the boom of the internet and all of the tech stocks. Will there be a similar crash? Potentially. Will it affect Bitcoin like it affects all the rest of the cryptocurrency technologies? Probably not. I think we're going to start seeing a clear separation of oil and water between Bitcoin and everything else. Let's talk about Elon Musk buying Twitter for $44 billion. Y'all are all aware of this. The memes are everywhere. Twitter is in uproar. We have people deleting accounts. We have people kind of gloating over it in a weird way. It's just, it's nuts. And it is marking, in my opinion, this transformation that is upon us with the digital age, especially as it surrounds cryptocurrency. So I think that it's very important. Now, this is coming from Cointelegraph, and it does say the crypto industry reacts. The company's board of directors unanimously approved the deal on Monday, but added it was still subject to the approval of Twitter stockholders. In the hours and days before Tesla CEO Elon Musk's purchase of social media giant Twitter, discussions on free speech were common among many online users, both in and out of the crypto industry. Twitter announced on Monday that it will become a privately held company following its board of directors accepting a bid from Elon Musk to purchase the firm's stock for $54.20 per share in cash, roughly $44 billion US dollars. Though the transaction is expected to close in 2022, it is still subject to the approval of Twitter stockholders as well as certain regulators. In one of his last tweets prior to the news of the purchase becoming public, Musk said, quote, "I hope that even my worst critics remain on Twitter because that is what free speech means," end quote. Twitter quoted the Tesla CEO saying free speech is the bedrock of a functioning democracy and Twitter is the digital town square. Many, however, seem to view the multi-billion-dollar purchase as potentially having the opposite result. Angelo Carusone, president of nonprofit media watchdog Media Matters for America, expressed concerns prior to the announcement that Twitter agreeing to the sale, quote, "would be a victory for disinformation and the people who peddle it," end quote, suggesting that Musk might unilaterally decide to allow those banned from the platform for inciting violence back on. I think we can agree that guy's an idiot. Let's move on. Jackson Palmer, the co-creator of the meme-based token Dogecoin, which Musk has often pushed on the social media platform, called the acquisition a, quote, "hostile takeover," end quote. That's true. So I want to be very clear. When you talk about a hostile takeover of a company, that doesn't always mean negative. That is something that is actually true. Like, that's a term that is utilized when one company comes in and basically forces the purchase of that company via basically a certain stock price that forces the company to do it in the interest of their shareholders. That's something like, not to go into too much detail, but my dad, that's what he did for a long time, was these kind of takeovers in the tech industry. And it is a hostile takeover. what Elon Musk did here was a hostile takeover, and that is because basically he forced the hand of Twitter to essentially sell to him, and that is not to be taken necessarily negatively, even though like in some cases people would consider it negative, right? So antithetical to the idea of freedom is what they added there. So no, hostile takeovers aren't antithetical to the idea of freedom, because they're a key part to a free market. Like that is literally one of the foundations of an open and free market, right? So just to be clear, you don't like something, you have the money to purchase it and change it, you can do that. That's what open and free markets allow for. Bitcoin bull Anthony Pompliano congratulated the new Twitter owner, while crypto lending firm BlockFi seemed to take more of a comical stance, posting a mashup photo of Dogecoin dog and Twitter's logo. MicroStrategy founder and CEO Michael Saylor did not comment directly on the acquisition, instead replying to Musk with the text of the First Amendment of the United States Constitution in a tweet, suggesting he supports the move. House of Representatives member Jody Heiss, who has supported false claims of fraud in the 2020 presidential election, lauded the transaction as a win for the First Amendment as well. It's unclear what First Amendment proponents may have meant by their support of Musk's purchase of Twitter, as the constitutional amendment does not limit private employers in the United States, but rather prevents Congress from passing laws prohibiting certain types of speech. U.S. courts have previously ruled that freedom of expression does not extend to inciting, quote, imminent lawless action, end quote. Similarly, Twitter's rules state the platform does not allow users to, quote, threaten violence against an individual or a group of people, end quote, or incite others to engage in targeted harassment. Musk, with more than 83 million followers, far more than former Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey at 6.3 million, may influence behavior on the platform and social media as a whole as a result of the purchase. The Tesla CEO said on April 14th that one of his top priorities for Twitter would be to, quote, or to eliminate, quote, spam and scam bots and the bot armies, including those connected to crypto scams. That would be awesome. And we'll get into, I know that some of the ideas behind this, though, is that you pay for verification. I don't know that I agree with paying for verification necessarily, but let's continue. At the time of publication, shares of Twitter are priced at $51.70, having risen more than 32% in the last 30 days. So going back to that, like the idea that, so there's a couple problems I have, right? Just from the ideas I've heard kicked around by Musk and so on. One is paying for the check mark, right? And then two is removing the anonymity of the platform. So, from my perspective, I think that there is still value to having a platform that allows for anonymity of the users. And I understand that we get into an issue with like bots, etc. But I do kind of put up a little bit of a pushback to the idea of basically verifying everybody as a human and then having that KYC built into the platform, because we already have that with Facebook. And I don't like that with Facebook, right? Like I like to have but also I like my online persona, right? If I go play a video game on Xbox Live or Steam or PlayStation, I like having that online persona that's somewhat anonymous, that isn't going to be like tied directly to my name. Now, you could say to a certain extent, right, I could still just be on Twitter as son of a tech, verified as a real human being, and you don't have to present that information to the public. But then we're still also talking about Twitter handling my own personal information within their databases, which is just another point of failure or a security breach that could be there. And when we're talking about a private company, what happens when Elon sells it or gets rid of it? Who gets all that data, right? There's just kind of a couple of my problems with it in general. But another thing too is, of course, we do want to get rid of the scams and the bots, but we'll just have to see what happens, right? I think best case scenario, from my perspective, is Elon purchases it, he open sources the code, and then just gives it to the public. I think that would be like absolute best case scenario, shines a light on what's going on with big tech and social media in particular, is specifically to where the entire public is aware of how the algorithms work, and so on, right? That would be the ideal case in my humble opinion. So, but will that happen? I don't know. I don't know if he just open sources the code, maintains control. At least there would be transparency there. I think it's all up in the air as far as it goes. Now, when we did, of course, see that going down, Dogecoin pumped like 40%, which is hence the title. So anytime Elon does something, Dogecoin pumps incredibly high. Bitcoin miner CleanSpark raises $35 million in equipment-backed debt from Trinity Capital. Equipment-based financing is becoming an increasingly popular option for mining firms to fund their growth. Bitcoin miner CleanSpark has raised $35 million in equipment financing backed by 3,336 new S19J Pro Bitcoin miners from Trinity Capital. Trin. Look at this. Fun. Okay. The Henderson, Nevada-based sustainable miner will use the proceeds from the financing for growth capital. Quote, as we mentioned in our Q1 earnings call, debt capital is currently the lowest cost of capital available to the company, end quote, said Gary Vecchiarelli, something like that, Chief Financial Officer of CleanSpark, in a statement. Quote, we intend to continue our efforts of obtaining non-dilutive capital to finance our growth needs, he added. On CleanSpark's earnings call in February, the company said that it prefers to raise capital by issuing rig-backed debt and that the company is in active talks with lenders. Other options include monetizing some of the company's Bitcoin holdings via sales and or yield. The financing comes at a time when miners are looking to get creative with their financing as capital markets remain somewhat constrained after Bitcoin prices came down from their peak last year. Using specialized Bitcoin mining computers called ASICs as collateral for loans has become popular among miners to fund their growth plans. Quote, all the options available for the miners in terms of financing have fundamentally changed over the last year, end quote, Mas Nakachi, head of crypto finance firms XBTO's mining operations, told CoinDesk in a recent interview. Quote, I think miners are starting to get more comfortable with equipment-based financing, end quote, he added. Among other lending products, XBTO offers financing to miners through asset-backed loans, as well as using Bitcoin as collateral. Most recently, Australian Bitcoin miner Iris Energy said that it has secured $71 million in equipment financing from institutional Bitcoin broker NYDIG, with a 25-month term and 11% interest and backed by 19,800 Bitmain S19J Pro miners. Meanwhile, in March, NYDIG also provided about $81.4 million in S19J Pro backed loans to miner Greenridge Generation. CleanSpark's loan has a 3-year term and carries an annual interest rate of 9.9%. The terms are similar to loan financing done by Trinity Capital last year, where it lent another crypto miner, Hut 8, a $30 million equipment-backed loan with a 3-year term and 9.5% interest. What is up with those interest rates? I feel like that's high. Quote, we are excited to partner with the team at CleanSpark, which is on a mission to mine Bitcoin responsibly using a mix of sustainable energy, including nuclear, hydroelectric, solar, and wind, said Ryan Little, managing director of equipment financing at Trinity Capital, in a statement. I think it's important to note that a lot of mining companies are doing this sort of like equipment-backed loans, as well as, of course, you can do a lot of DeFi-backed loans where you put up collateral in some sort of cryptocurrency. I think it's going to become more commonplace, especially as we see kind of the market just stick right here. Like we are at the lowest volatility of cryptocurrency ever in the history of cryptocurrency. Now, part of that has some crazy factors going on with it, right? Because we have this factor of the traditional super cycle going on where we would expect some crashes coming in and so on. But we also have this crazy, global recession threat that's happening. Essentially, that's the best term I can come up with it, that is coming in and kind of keeping it in a spot where a lot higher than where you would really expect it to be. And so if you do have, though, the lowest volatility ever right now, then, these companies are able to kind of essentially hedge their bets a little bit more comfortably. Kind of goes back to that institutional investing, though, too, as well. So we're going to see more and more people, I think, hop in, as it were. Let's get into mining profitability on my farm for the day. It's still terrible. 199 for the day is estimated at 0.068. Yesterday, we made 199 at 0.068. And we do have more hash rate online. I did get a rig fixed. We were down yesterday. Let's see, last week, will it show it? Yeah, so you see here this dip. So there was a big storm yesterday and it took out the whole farm. And so the farm was down for about 3 or 4 hours. And then I was out there working on it pretty much all day until the evening. Then we came back. We came back twice. Funny enough, if you guys were there for my live stream on twitch.tv/blindrun, where we were live streaming setting up the Darrow node, essentially I started setting up the Darrow node, noticed half the rigs went back down, had to go back out there. I had an issue with a switch, got the switch back up, boom, came back here, started working again, figured out that I had something wrong with the server that I was trying to build the node on. So I went back out, fixed the server, came back. Anyways, we were in and out. We started and stopped the live stream quite a few times, but we did get the Darrow node syncing. It's about halfway done right now. I will be doing a guide on it once I confirm that I can mine to it successfully, all that sort of stuff. But we had a really rough day of mining yesterday. So, I think 199 still for the day, being down like 3 or 4 hours. Maybe it was really honestly going to be a lot better than that. It was a cooler day thanks to the storm. So that helped a little bit in getting a higher hash rate for a while. As you might not know, I have ventilation issues and I'm still working with getting moved. And then once we get moved, we should have a much better outlook, I think, for us personally. So hopefully we'll get it all figured out. That being said, we also are still mining VerisHash. These will get moved over to Darrow here in a little while. Once, provided we get it functioning, I'm going to move all of my CPUs from VerisHash over to Darrow to test out essentially. Look, here's the deal. There's only 260 of y'all. Maybe a couple thousand will work out later. If you didn't go watch my hash rate review on the 5800X3D, you may want to go watch it. The reason being is there is a profitability opportunity there, but I'm not even going to tell you what that is fully right now. I'm going to allude to it and make you go watch the video. Only a few people have watched the video. Very less people have watched to the end for the realization that we found, and it may be beneficial to you. So go do it. All right. That's all I got to say there. Let's check out mining profitability on the 3090. Correct the Zell hash and calculate it out. And we got Ethereum at $3.56 a day after power. And then after that, we still have Cero up here at $2.42 a day after power. This is at 10 cents a kilowatt hour. We have NiceHash Zell hash for Flux at $2.45 a day after power. Not as crazy more profitable than mining Flux directly now. It's starting to calm down. You can mine Flux directly for $2.43 a day after power. Conflex at $2.30 a day after power. And then we scroll down here. Of course, we still have Rio up here at $2.23. Scroll down a little more. Here's where our Ergo is. It's at $1.98 a day after power. Ravencoin $1.64 a day after power. Ethereum Classic taking a huge hit because why? Why is Ethereum Classic taking a huge hit? Well, yesterday, and let me pull it up for you guys, we had essentially the 5th inning for Ethereum Classic. Not really timed well with the markets, unfortunately, for them, in my humble opinion. But they did get it going. Let me get the tweet up for you guys here. Boom. So, Ethereum Classic miners today. Ethereum Classic switched to ERA 4. Block reward was reduced from 3.2 Ethereum Classic to 2.56 Ethereum Classic. Uncle block rewards were reduced from 0.1 Ethereum Classic to 0.8. And you can see here, we have hit that now. And that is why yesterday also on our mining pool statistics, we have Ethereum Classic basically taking a dump in hash rate. So what's going to happen? You can see here for the mining on Ethereum Classic, it has dropped down to 27 terahash a second from 29 terahash a second. We should see a corresponding reduction in difficulty as well as this gets settled in. It does mean that the profitability right now is going to be lower on Ethereum Classic, and it doesn't help that it also had a 13% drop in the past 7 days on price. Will it recover? Who knows? Usually fifth innings, half innings, that sort of thing does increase the price of a cryptocurrency. But as we've talked about before, even with Ravencoin, and we've seen this with all the altcoins, it doesn't affect it as much as Bitcoin's halving affects the entire market. The Bitcoin halving is the big daddy one that actually makes the price go up, right? All the other ones, it really is always determined basically within the time frame that they basically end up having their halvening or fifthening or whatever it may be, their reduction of the new minting process coming into play that's rewarded to the miners. If it happens during a bull cycle, typically just a quick and dirty, then the altcoin usually performs better. If it happens during a bear market, usually it just makes the profitability worse, right? So it's kind of this funny thing where really the only one that really matters, like we've talked about before, is Bitcoin. All the rest are kind of dependent sort of on Bitcoin. So away it goes. Let's look at the rest of the hash rate though, and we'll check out Bitcoin here. You have Bitcoin actually down in hash rate to 225 exahash a second, still continuing to go down. Ethereum probably around 1 petahash still. Yep, right around 1 petahash, 1.04 petahash on Ethereum. Let's take a look at Flux. Flux is at 2 mega solutions a second. No huge change. A lot steadier of a hash rate. Flux may be one we start looking at again. Provided now that the whole node hype is kind of starting to slow down, the miners might want to start going back in, right? We've talked about this. Part of the problem was the node hype was there. The cheapest way to get Flux was to rent hash power on NiceHash. So everybody that wanted a node that weren't miners were just going in and renting a whole bunch of hash rate on NiceHash to get enough for their nodes. It seems like everybody's starting to get the amount of nodes that they want, and we're starting to just kind of balance out here. That's good news for the miners. That means that we're going to have more predictable, profitability on Flux. Hopefully this is kind of where we're past that big craziness, right? Let's take a look at Ergo. In Ergo, we were talking about this. It's starting to kind of steady out, and it's not as pronounced of these big spikes. Miners are starting to understand how this works, right? And I think, the only problem that it still has is I do think that in theory, the people that want to take advantage of it could take advantage of it with NiceHash if they absolutely wanted to take advantage of the difficulty kind of increased delay and decreased delay that Ergo has in play. Hopefully, though, that isn't as big of a deal because it's a smaller coin, right? Let's take a look at Ravencoin. Ravencoin is at 2.98 terahash a second. It's actually down, right? Because yesterday when we checked, it was above 3, but it's also very spiky, so it's hard to keep track of it. Mining pool profitability for the day, or mining pool profitability for the past 90 days, Flex pool in first, mining pool hub in second, F2 pool in third. For the last 60 days, F2 pool in first, Flex pool in second, Hivon in third. For the last 30 days, Crazy pool in first, F2 pool in second, Flex pool in third. For the last 21 days, Crazy pool in first, F2 pool in second, Flex pool in third. For the last 14 days, you have Crazy pool in first, F2 pool in second, Hivon in third. For the last 7 days, you have F2 pool in first, Crux pool in second, Hivon in third. For the last 3 days, you have Crazy pool in first, F2 pool in second, Crux pool in third. For the last day, you have Flex pool in first, F2 pool in second, and Hivon in third place. ASIC miner profitability, not a huge change on the Jazz Miner X4 at $140 today. In a Silicon A11, $79 a day. The KD6 really taking a huge hit. If you invested in one of these at $60,000, I feel bad for you. Now, we've never suggested that you do that on this channel, but case in point here, if the price is waning, you know, this is... What is that payoff time now at $60,000? It was $62,000, I think, divided by, what, 77? We'll just say 78 to be fair. It's the 794-day ROI, provided it doesn't go down further. Does it have the potential to go down further? Maybe. KD5 at $52.14 a day, probably a better purchase. L7, $42.13 a day on NiceHash, so that probably includes the merge mining price. Scrolling down to the S19 Pro, Bitcoin mining is down, down, down. S19 Pro only making $12 a day. That's down from the $13 a day yesterday. Pretty rough stuff. Let's go ahead and check out the one of the sponsors, channel sponsors. It's not the sponsor spot today for any sales going on. Here's an interesting one. iPolo V1 Mini Classic Ethereum Classic Coin Miner, 130 mega hash a second for $1,700. This one has got my eye for sure. iPolo V1 Mini Classic is designed to mine Ethereum Classic with 130 mega hash a second at only 104 watts. With this quiet and low power consumption design, you can easily put it anywhere you like, no matter in the office or the bedroom. It bothers nobody and gives you a $4 a day passive income. What can I say more? Hope you guys enjoy it. I'm going to try to get one of these for review, guys, because I'm stoked. Now, it says Ethereum Classic only, so I wonder if that is due to the amount of, so that is due to the amount of memory on boards, 4.8, 4.8. So 130 mega hash though, we could calculate that out, right? 130 mega hash at 105 watts. Super efficient. Let's calculate that out though. On Ethereum Classic, you are looking at $1.50 a day. So if you calculated that out, right, it would be like a payoff and ROI of 1,100 days on Ethereum Classic. So not a great purchase at that price, but a really cool machine. As far as another option for mining Ethereum Classic. Future proof. All right, let's get into questions and answers. Remember, super chats are never required, always appreciated, and the first to get answered. Bam. Other than that, tag at Son of a Tech to get answered more quickly. Bam. All right. So, Deramo says, at Son of a Tech, I'm an at-home miner, but I am currently out of space to expand. I'm looking to buy a home to host my mining rigs. Why did you choose renting instead of owning? So the reason I chose renting instead of owning, okay. So first of all, it's under the business, not under my personal assets, right? So the business is going to have a fixed cost. Part of that cost could either be, if we wanted to, real estate investment that would be purchased under the company. Sure, we could have looked at that. That gets a lot more complicated. You have to build up credit for your company. You can't just have a brand new LLC that was formed in a year and go out and get credit for the company. How do you build credit for a company? Well, you got to build credit for the company by doing things that report to your credit. So you got to get a cell phone under the company. You got to get rental property under the company. Got to get a utility thing under the company. That's why we're building credit for the company. That's the best way. That's the most simple way to explain it. But in addition to that, it creates a fixed cost, lower commitment rate, right? So if I completely failed at it, we just bankrupt the company, cancel the lease, and call it a day. I guess you could technically do that with the property. But that asset would then just get absolved within that bankruptcy, and that would suck. So there's all that, right? In addition to that, obviously what you get access to, is a group of people. Depending on who you rent from, you end up getting access to a group of people that are going to be advocates for you when negotiating with power companies, negotiating with the internet companies. You get all that sort of stuff, because what do? They negotiate for all their clients. So for example, it's pretty far out. Internet, when I called for internet to have the line dug and get it all the way out there, they wanted $40,000 to get internet piped out there. Now, of course, we were running on a hotspot while we waited. Alternatively, they have a bunch of clients. They get together. They say, we have this many clients that are going to do it. The rental company covers that for you, the initial cost, right? Your landlord. And then they advocate for you to get that internet pipeline in. What else do they advocate for? The power company, right? Going in, saying, hey, we have this power requirement. Boom. They're doing all the negotiation for 3-phase. They're doing I don't have to go do all that negotiation. So a lot of it is also offloading. It's basically like you're paying rent for an additional sort of personal assistant that's going out and advocating for you with power companies, internet companies, etc. There's a lot of advantages to it, as well as contractor companies. They'll also help you with that. City code, all that sort of stuff, right? Whereas if you have to go out and do all of that yourself, you ain't going to be running a YouTube channel. I'm just saying, it's not going to happen. You're going to be so dang busy. AJHD says, as Simon Tech, I still need to see the CPU review. Been busy and also lost a little interest in CPU mining, sitting on a few CPUs that aren't being utilized due to power cost. Go check out the video and let me know. Scrolling down, Free Broski says, ask Simon Tech, can you please add some form of identifier to your clips from the CMMS, either in the subject or the thumbnail? Clips aren't going up on the channel anymore. So there you go. Eric Kronkowski says, ask Simon Tech, how much difficulty has it been added from the from the ETH difficulty bomb so far? Is there a way to tell? That's a good question. So let me go look. I believe from the bomb, I don't know. That's harder to tell. I thought we had, because we covered this in a video a while back. And I can't remember which video it was. Let me think, because we have a link. We have a link to it. I just need to remember. Like, you can do the basic Ethereum difficulty chart, right? But that's not really going to give you an idea if it was the bomb that's doing it. Difficulty's down right now. I thought it was... Let me try to get an idea, and maybe we'll make a dedicated video on it. I don't have an answer right now. Sorry. It's going to take me too long. Eric says, Ask Tech, how much difficulty has it been added from the... Okay, we did that one. Dave says, Ask Tech, what resources are available to find compatibility for computer parts? You've got a bunch of old crappy computers around that you can't run any of your 30 series cards. PCPartPicker.com. Let me make sure I got that typed in right. Bam. PCPartPicker.com. You just go into the system builder, then you can add in whatever CPU, motherboard, etc., and it'll tell you if it's compatible or not. Minor Illusion says, Ask Tech, RaveOS's account servers are all screwed up as of hours ago, not reporting any cards or machines, etc. etc. or no connection at all. All right, good to know. Have you checked out their Twitter to see what they've said? Are they on Twitter? Could have sworn they were. Or do you go through two miners? Bam, bam, bam. Let me check. I don't have any rigs on RaveOS right now, so I can't check there. And nothing on their home page right now saying that anything's going on. They have a Discord. You can check their Discord. All right. DK says, Ask Tech, Hivon raised their minimum withdrawal to 0.2 ETH. Yes, we talked about this yesterday. What they added was Polygon payouts to accommodate for that. So, obviously, they're raising it to 2.2 ETH, and they also put a gas limit, 80 Gwei. If essentially the gas limit is too high, they also won't do a payout because they do free payouts. Remember, they don't charge you for payouts. They also don't have a fee on the pool. So it makes a lot of sense. What they're trying to do is not bleed their own wallet dry, right? That's what they're trying to do. What they really prefer, as I can tell so far, is that everybody moves to Polygon. Fried Electron says, please go back and do what to mine calculation again. Oh, good point, guys. We did mess that up. So we need to go back to what to mine and add in the 130 at 105 for ET4G. And that will give us the proper for Ethereum Classic, which would actually be at 231 a day. And so it's a much better ROI. So we do 1,700 divided by 231. And bam, we're at 735 days, not 1,100 days. Thank you for the correction. That's why you all are here. I'm just the mouthpiece. That's it. That's it. All right. DK says, that's Son of a Tech. Thanks for all the content. For sure, man. Scott Schultz says, that's Son of a Tech. At the end of the day, should everybody watching like the video? You know, sometimes I mess up and they're going to dislike the video. Sometimes people just don't like you and they dislike the video. Today was also more of a controversial video. You know, I'm talking about crazy things like individual sovereignty and stuff. Some people are scared of that. Some people are scared of the transformation that's going to take place. There will be people that side with the state. We're already seeing it. And it's going to get wild, boys. So just sit back and enjoy and observe, because I think that it is true that what is happening is inevitable. And I think there will be a dissolving of nation states. And I think even like just in all institutions as we move forward. And I, for one, am excited for that, but I do understand the fear that will go along with that. Anonymous Miner says, at Simontek, I just moved to an all-inclusive apartment. Should do TON and CPU mine. I'm scared of heat since I have 10 GPUs, 10 series, and Polaris cards. Yeah, be careful. You don't want it too obvious. You don't want those thermal things coming in. They think you're gonna be growing the green and invade, like we've seen in the news. But also just make sure that you're not overloading the circuits or causing anything that may end up getting you in more trouble with the apartment than you should. And depending on the apartment, if it's a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, this configuration of it, all that, etc., you just need to make sure that you go ahead and set something up. Now, in an apartment like that, with the size of your rigs, you could get a small grow tent and pump that out through a window. And that would probably be the most advisable for an apartment mining, I think. Would just be basically one of those grow tents that you get for growing, plants. Like, vegetables, like tomatoes, one of those. MI6 says, that's Attack. What do you think of the copper shim modding? I think that it is great for short-term improvement of your hash rate and reduction of temperature on memory modules that will potentially have long-term consequences due to the added pressure on the PCB that is out of specification. Minor Illusion says, ask Attack, don't worry, it's just causing me a huge mess. Which part? Okay, gotcha. We're going to be setting up, I think, a Clips channel. Unfortunately, the bad part for me is that it won't be monetized. I'm still working out how I'm going to do it. Okay. I do realize that I am fully aware that the current format, in fact, like the live shows, look, I'm aware that the current format is not working. I'll put it that way. And I don't know what I'm going to do. It's definitely hurting my bottom line too. Like, real bad. MCW says, hi, at Samatech, do you know if Dogecoin is going proof of stake? Is buying a mini Doge miner a bad idea? Two separate questions. So the first question, no. And the second question, yes. Dark Alley says, at Samatech, you do amazing work. Looking forward to your content when ETH mining stops. Yeah, it should be fun. Let's see. Tactics says, Asamatech gonna boast the thermal pad job on the 3090s with heat sinks on the back plate. Should you use copper or black painted aluminum or silver aluminum? The copper will, I mean, like, obviously if you went silver, you'd be good. But probably copper. Free Broski says, Asamatech, I've noticed the last few days on MinerStat when looking at ETH capable hardware, they're showing Binance ETH pool typically 50% higher than other ETH pools. Any idea why? More than likely because Binance picked up a couple huge blocks. Miner Illusion says, Asamatech, any suggestion on a new best thermal pad brand? You're about to order a couple $1,000 worth, so you need to pick something decent. GPU risers, 20 watts. So, man, here's what I'll tell you. So I started using the G-Lid GC Extremes for like 3090s, etc., and 3070s and some other stuff. I'm finding that those degrade really, really quickly. They end up hardening up and turning into dust. So they work really well while they're there, but they don't last long enough for mining farms, in my humble opinion. The old blue ones that I've always touted, those last for forever, but they don't have the cooling capacity of like the G-Lid GC Extreme or anything along those lines. Now, another one that I was looking at here recently, and I'm trying to remember that it's the Bits Power, I believe. Was it Bits Power? Yeah, Bits Power, but I don't think you can get them on Amazon. And I'm testing those out right now. So still, the ones that last the longest are literally the cheap ones on Amazon. And I know like a lot of people are like meh about them, but I promise you they're the ones that are lasting the longest for me. Now I am trying some thermal putty as well. The problem with the thermal putty is it gets everywhere and it's a damn disaster. But it does get better temperatures in theory, at least on like some of the 3000 GPUs. But those thermal pads that I linked are last the longest. Danny Ring says, Asamatech live show should be a separate channel. Like every day is too much for one guy. I'm trying. Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do right now. I don't know what I'm going to do. But if we did a separate channel, the problem is we would have zero monetization. And already monetization is pretty much in the dirt, meaning that I am basically at I don't know. It's bad. Black Cat Crypto says, Asamatech, do 3080 FEs have thermal problems? Sorry, you forgot to tag me. Yes, they do. Nicholas Kane says, Asamatech, thoughts on, not as bad as the 3090s though. Asamatech, thoughts on renting your hash power out? I found it more profitable lately than mining ETH. You mean with like mining rig rentals or nice hash? It's up to you, man. Eric says, Asamatech, thoughts on the Jazzminer X4 versus the iPolo V1 Mini? Well, the Jazzminer X4 is extremely expensive. And the iPolo Mini is not expensive, but doesn't mine Ethereum. It only mines Ethereum Classic. So there you go. That answers that. All right, boys. Let's go wrap it up. I'm going to go jiu-jitsu. I think what we're going to do tonight, hopefully, I'm going to get a video tonight out. We're going to be covering using MetaMask. That's what we're going to be covering. Not setting up MetaMask, not depositing Ethereum or a token. We're going to be going over kind of a broad view of all of the capabilities of MetaMask so that people understand how to do basics like add a network, add a token, add a network and then add a token to that network, swapping, that sort of stuff. There seems to be a lot of confusion surrounding it. And so I've been trying to work on basically kind of a big overview guide for MetaMask because it appears that a lot of people struggle with it. You can basically use, just to give you guys an idea, you can basically use CoinMarketCap and MetaMask in conjunction to trade and do anything you want pretty much across all of cryptocurrency. So we're going to give you the big brain top down how to use MetaMask video. Hopefully this evening is the plan. As far as clips, so I'm trying to figure out how we're going to do this. Obviously, like if I look at like what Red Panda is doing, he's just doing one video a day. That's it, kind of thing. And then he has his live stream channel and then whatever. I think we're going to create a clip channel, and I don't know how I'm going to have enough time to do this, but I'm going to get it figured out. Look, no excuses. I'm just going to work hard. I think we're going to get a clip channel set up. It'll be like crypto mining clips. There's probably something along those lines named like that. We're going to take all the clips from this, dump it over there. It won't be monetized, which is going to make things pretty difficult here for me for a while. But I think that's, we'll go through the pain, the growth pains of figuring this out. Am I going to move the live stream off of here? No, because I think none of y'all would find me if I did that. Because even moving, when we do stuff on Twitch, a good day is like 30 viewers on Twitch, right? So I don't think we'll move that over. Detroit Irish, you have to have 1,000 subscribers and like 1 million watch hours before you can have a monetized channel. It took me for this channel like 3 years before we got monetized. 4 years. 4 years for this channel to get monetized. So, yeah. It takes a long time. But we're going to figure it out. And I'm going to be trying to get, so if you see a video pop on the channel, it should be at this point, a dedicated video. Cool. Cool. So it'll either be the live stream in the morning or in the afternoon, that. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next Tuesday. Oh, and a quick note. If any of you all have the time, I would really appreciate just going into the comment section and adding timestamps for me. I can copy them and put them into my description. That would put timestamps up for me. Anybody that's willing to do it, all you got to do is type in the timestamps. You can Google how to do it and then just put it in a comment and then boom, I can add them to the description and it'll add the timestamps. That would be amazing if somebody could do that for me. So anybody that wants to do it, I'll pin the comment. That would be super helpful. I just don't have the time right now.